Feeling happy that one more day you are out of this jail? Are you feeling like that, or are you feeling that okay, the time is worth? Huh? Is it? Sorry? Huh? Or you're leaving today after the exam? Okay. There's an exam in the afternoon. Take test. It's only 3 to 4, and then they'll give certificates also. No? It's good to have some certificate from IIT. So today I've got few thoughts. Have you noticed I'm putting something? Are we recording? Yeah. So on every slide that I've done so far, I'm putting an acknowledgement. Do you know that, right? Why I'm doing so? Australia is a country that belongs to these traditional custodians, we call them aboriginals. They've been living for centuries, million years. And when European settlements happened, so now it has become more kind of, westernized country in a sense. Yeah, same. It's all like colonized in a sense. So as a mark of respect to show that, it belongs to the First Nation people. These are the First Nation people. Much before I went, much before many people went, these people have been living. They're a legacy of centuries and thousands of years, right? So just to show a mark of respect for their elders, past, present, and emerging. So every university or every entity, every organization, they tend to kind of acknowledge that it is their land we are living and we are sharing, that our livelihoods depend on their shared cultures. And that's a kind of acknowledgement. Okay, so today we will look at how to become self-sufficient in critical minerals. Because again, Atmanirbharta, right? Now we call it is Amrit Kal, as Prime Minister says. What does that mean? Next 25 years are going to be super important for India as a country. And we also had a bit of brief mention about India's contribution to the world before British came to India, right? Pre-British era, so to say, where it was contributing almost 27% to world's GDP. A lot of textile industries were kind of, thriving in the past. And then as they came, then they destroyed, successively industry after industry. And then we went into kind of that, poster child kind of status. So how do we regain that? And then human resources are the key to everything, right? And in order for us to be able to get to where we want to get to, so that 25 trillion or 30 trillion, and there are some projections which are saying even it can become second largest economy in the world by 2047. India at 47. I think I mentioned that book, right? If you ever get a chance, you should take a look. And it's not by any ordinary person. He was former chief economic advisor to government of India who had written. And then it is with proper data, proper analysis, proper rigor that projections came. And when country becomes that proud, everyone, all the country people can. So in order for us to be able to there, and then it is important that we also have self-reliance on. In fact, even now also when too many LinkedIn feeds that come to me, and wherein people say that energy independence and critical minerals. There's so much of talk. Prime Minister has said on the 15th August during his speech to the nation, meaning these are going to be very, 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 very important as far as our sovereignty is concerned. Because if you depend too much on international imports and so on, then you are exposed to that vulnerabilities, so to say. Yeah. And we have said that when you have dependency up to 100%, then it's not good, right? Whether for your energy needs or your manufacturing needs. In fact, the friend who came to meet me just now, he was my childhood friend, and he works in the ordnance factory. You know ordnance factory, right? In fact, the IIT started initially. IIT Hyderabad was housed within the ordnance factory before this campus got built. It's only 15 minutes from here. So what he says is, what they do, they build tankers, they build armored ambulances in the field. For example, some soldiers get injured, they have to be taken to hospital. And they also, manufacture guns for the battle, for our armed forces. So he just came to meet me, but that's what he do. And he says critical minerals is discussed on every tea table every day in the ordnance factory. Who will do? They will not do anything with minerals. There's something called midhani. I don't know whether is it midhani, mishra, mishra, dhatu, dhatu, midhani, midhani. Okay, anyway, India something. Mishra dhatu. So it's alloys. Mishra means what? Alloy, right? Alloys. And we said, what are the key properties of critical minerals that make them critical? We talked about. What are the key properties, physical, chemical, and mechanical or metallurgical properties that becomes so crucial? Light in weight, excellent. Weight is one, okay. What else? No, I'm not talking of markets. I'm not talking of, the business side of critical minerals. So I'm talking of the structural, mineralogical, metallurgical, chemical. Remember in one of the slides I put. Excellent. One is electrical, thermal, 4 magnetic, 5 yeah, strength. What else? Yeah, so far it's not come metallurgical. Yeah. How do you MET? Metallurgical. Yeah. What else? Are the other important properties that make them so? Huh? No, that's mineralogy. One important property that we are missing. Couple of them. Uh, huh? No, that's already metallurgy, right? It's almost there. These are all same, right? Yeah. Exactly. Excellent. Nuclear. Something else? Nuclear. Where are we sitting? Luminescence. Exactly. Luminescence properties, right? Lights. Lights, nuclear, metallurgical strength. Can you give me one example for everyone? Each of these properties? One element. Name one element for each. Huh? Excellent. ND. And the other one is PR. What is PR? praseodymium. Then TB, what is TB? Terbium. DY. What is DY? Dysprosium. Yeah, excellent. Then metallurgy, give me a couple of examples. Yeah, scandium, right? We said scandium, rare element. Nuclear, thorium. Yeah, like all of them also have got a bit of nuclear property, thorium and uranium. Then what else? Luminescence. Yeah, tungsten is first. Maybe here we can put T. How do you write tungsten? What is the formula for tungsten? Yeah, Wolfram, right? W. Yeah. What else? Luminescence. The Nobel Prize, 2016 Nobel Prize. Germany, right? Thermal. Thermal resistance. No, aluminum not. Tungsten, right? What else? Chromium. Alloys. Yeah, yttrium. So that they increase when you add them to the mainstream metal, they will increase various properties. So see, war tankers and etc. They need all of that high strength, lightweight, high temperature they should withstand. So all of these have to be very essential, and that's what these guys they do. Lot of that Mishra Dhatu Nigam Limited, like they Mishra, like they add different alloys. Materials engineers are very good at that. So materials engineers, the main activity is just keep on doing that. So as I said, uh, gallium arsenide, right? Gallium arsenic, uh, gallium arsenide, and then you got gallium indium, um, gallium indium arsenide. So these are added in different proportions. Do you remember from your childhood doping? Those are engineers and scientists. What is doping means? Huh? Doping is exactly this. You keep on adding, and then that doping is what is very important activity, which makes alloys the way that they behave. So you require that for defense purpose. You see that, and then country has to maintain minimum required defense stockpile for of very key important raw material. One is bulk commodities, right? We require bulk commodities. What are the bulk commodities? Example, copper. You require them in millions of tons. Yeah. What else? Cobalt is not so bulk. Aluminum, of course, excellent. What are the other bulk commodities? You require in large quantities. Fe, right? Iron ore or steel, yeah. Graphite, of course. Graphite is not a metal, but anyway, they will put it. Yeah? Limestone, no, it's not a metal. Yeah. What else? Bulk commodities. Manganese, of course, manganese, yeah. What is PB? Lead. What is Zn? What is Au? Good. What is Ag? So these are all kind of bulk commodities. Like you require them in large quantities. But you also require very specialty metals or exotic metals, which are all these, rare earths, REEs. Now, by now, you should know that what is that REEs, right? Then what you have PGMs, yeah? And then you require gallium, you require germanium, you require indium, you get chromium, you got arsenic, you got cobalt, you got all of that. So bulk commodities, and then critical minerals, we call them. They required in small quantities, but their availability is so crucial in attaining those properties. Remember, we said aluminum is used as a metal in aircraft building. It is metal. It's malleable. It's very flexible, but it's very ductile. It can break. If you take an aluminum strip 10 times, then it breaks. How to make it stronger? By adding scandium, for example. Right? That's one example that we took. Okay, I'm repeating because so that it gets into your deep into your kind of thing. So let's look at. So we talked about why, how we should secure, and now how to become self-reliant. Okay, let's before we go to some of the slides. What do you think is the best way that we can start becoming self-reliant? What are your thoughts? How do you become rich? Okay, it's simple. Let me put. How do you become rich? Savings, excellent. Savings and in investments. If you are just relying on your salary, you will never become rich, right? Salary is important, but with salary, what you should have? You should have a good financial management plan, which is savings and investments. So all of you just making entering into your career. So remember that sutra. If you want to become rich, creating assets, yeah. Which assets? I'll tell you one example of one actor, Telugu actor. He had one rule of thumb, one Shoban Babu. I was amazed how much he made. I think he is a billionaire. What he said is his rule of thumb was if he got 10 rupees of a movie, he would use 5 rupees for his expenses. 5 rupees he will invest in a property. That had been his rule from the day one in his career. So apparently, at the time when he died, I heard a good story. He had properties that, for example, in Chennai, where he used to live, if he started early at 5 o'clock, by the time he returns at 12 o'clock in the night, he would cover only half of his properties. Imagine how many billions of wealth he would. That's why he's having statue. Is it? Okay. So it was an inspirational story to me. See, we all work, but most of you are just young and about to make. So have that deep rooted in your creation of wealth is not everyone's job. Not everyone can do it. Only few people can. And the mantra is that it may look silly. Okay, what 10 rupees today? You know that there's a time value of money. Right? A concept called time value of money. If I gave you a rupee today, it's valuable, more valuable than a rupee of tomorrow. Because you can go and invest and then it can accrue, some kind of interest. Anyway, we're digressing, but that's very important. So what's important? Again, going back to how do we become self-sufficient, right? From import dependence to self-sufficiency in critical minerals, because that's very, very important. We have spoken at length on a number of occasions why it is important. National security, import reliance reduction means you can save money. Even we import urea, and we, as agrarian economy still, what is the dependence on agriculture as far as country is concerned? Fertilizers. Yeah, fertilizers. Phosphate. Yeah, everything we have to import, right? So almost we are 70% still agriculture, agrarian based, we call it, right? So if everything you have to import, if you don't produce, then you will drain your exchequer. Just imagine if you are salaried, you start working, and you've got a family of four. If you don't cook, if you want to go outside and dine out every day, then you will, no matter how much you make, you will have no savings by the end of the day. But if you start cooking, you start saving, then you'll save a lot, because that's where your human capital investment is going. Your hard work is getting spent, and so that you save upon. Just imagine that, simple concept, and same concepts you can apply, right? How you should do, how we can become self-reliant. One, you should explore the country domestic resources. How many? Because we hardly did any conscious exploration in the country for critical minerals. Not only leave alone critical minerals, but also for majority of the minerals. So one is to increase our reserve base, our resource, right? Increasing increasing reserves. How can you do it? Exploration, right? Sorry. No. How can you increase your reserve base? By exploration, right? You have to find out more, and then it's also exploring for the future. You remember yesterday's talk? One of the talks we said, you go and look at your old tailings and the old abandoned mines, etc. Right? Then the third one is, no, that's okay. Stockpiling will come to that. That's a good point. But what else? How else you can kind of increase your reserves? Have good recycling, and collection systems, right? Because end of life recycling. When your mobile phone comes to its end of life, what you should do? You should have a good collection mechanism so that you can salvage the value in it. We said mobile phone is nothing but 45 elements, right? 46. Yeah, 46 or whatever. It keeps on increasing, right? So absolutely, proper utilization of resources is a management issue. But how can you increase your reserves? Is exploration for new deposits, then revisit some of your old tailings, etc., to see whether they've got some availability. Then the other one is recycling. And what else you should do? How can you become self or less dependent? So before I go ahead, I want to just get your thinking process in the way. How can we become self-sufficient in critical minerals? Self-sufficient doesn't mean that you should have everything in-house. Huh? Self-sufficiency does not mean that you should have every metal that you're going to need within your house. Excellent. Excellent. Partnerships, international partnerships. Right? If you don't have what you should look for your families, your friends, right? Your extended families, your extended neighbors. When you don't have it, that's how you do, right? That's partnerships, bilateral, trilateral, multilateral, which government is doing. For example, we looked at Australia, India, AI, right? Then J, what is J? Japan. India, and then Quad, and then MSP. So these are examples there, right? Then what else we can do? Yeah. Yeah, partnerships is one. Then investing in other countries, investing in our own country, but also investing in India. domestically and internationally. Yeah, internationally. Because see, one thing that how India can take sorry, India can take advantage of our demographic dividend, we call it, right? Like, the see, you can make even human capital, you can derive benefit out of your human capital. What you can do is you can do value addition, and then you can sell it to the market, to the world market. Not every country is as blessed as India in terms of that enormous human capital. And that what means? What does it mean? You give your human service and then take money for that in return. That's one thing that we should do. And that's exactly where the value addition, quality, all of that will come into play, right? What else we can think of? How to become self-sufficient? Excellent. Processing plant means I would call that as R&D for that. It's okay. Research and innovation or research and development, right? Research and development, research and innovation. So innovation, you are trying to see how best we can make things like, if Midani were to use, if ordnance factory were to use some particular dhatu, right? Loham is what? Metal, right? Loham is, dhatu is alloy. Dhatu is alloy. Loham is metal. So our research and innovation. Then what else? I think that we have said here, right? Our research and innovation and skilling. Absolutely. What else we can think of? So what you're saying, produce or procure? Implementation of new technologies. Yeah, research and innovation. That's good. Yeah. If you procure, you are vulnerable. If you produce, you are Atmanirbhar. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So where you should put your, where you should bet on produce, right? What else? Yeah, entrepreneurship. Excellent. Huh? Entrepreneurship, policy. And again, one of the key message from Prime Minister's 15th August speech is, if you have got a suggestion, please write to me. It is working, I can tell you. Yesterday, I was speaking to my counterpart at IIT Bombay. We made some recommendations to Government of India after our first workshop, Australia-India workshop. 4 out of 5 recommendations we made were implemented in the National Critical Minerals Mission. Can you believe? People are here, people are ready to hear, people are ready to listen if you take a good proposal to them. Right? And now more proposals. If you got some real good idea how you can enable a system, it will work. When you have a government that is so sensitive. And same thing happened with the Telangana government, where Professor Murthy, director, and I went to government. When we made suggestions, things are happening now. Singareni Collieries is now trying to diversify into critical minerals. Right? So that's another important. What else? I'm still trying to get the point that I'm looking. So I heard a scheme from pharmaceutical industry. They some of the students, defer their education. That they students from the lower middle class background after 10 and they're trying on the pharmaceutical and then they use it for their company works and then support the education as well as they can do the part-time job also, like how it is in US, it can be implemented in pharmaceutical. So can we apply something, scheme, something like that? It is also, can we introduce the critical minerals as a branch in the engineering or in the embassy department where all these things can happen? So can we do something like that, sir, by supporting the women people also? Yeah, I think that's a very good point, right? Social license to operate. We talked about it. SLO. You remember SLO? So social, because most of the mining is in the rural communities. If you look at, and we said if you have social license to operate, it's good. If you don't, what will happen? Slow, right? Projects get delayed. Projects run over time. Project run over cost, over budgets, and then everything is going to become expensive, right? But still, there's one important point that I'm looking at. Yes, that's a good point. I'm forgetting now what's the point that I'm trying to get. Buffer stocks, of course. Buffer stocks are good. Buffer stocks, stockpiling, yeah, that's important. How you become self-sufficient. So when now country feels very confident about two things. One is our forex reserves and our food reserves. We talked about food, right? Our FCI go downs, Food Corporation of India go downs are overflowing. 3 years, if our farmers don't produce, also we can survive. That's a position that you want to be in, right? Not many countries. In fact, China imports a lot of food grains. They don't have self-sufficiency. So, okay, you have got good sufficiency in critical minerals, doesn't mean that food grains, because tomorrow, same thing can happen back to China, right? So, one is food, and the other one is forex, right? What else? We talked, we talked that substitution. You remember substitution? What does that mean, substitution? If you do not have rare earths, can we substitute that with something else that we have? So, overall, the crux of today's lecture is just around this. Either if you don't, if you have, you better use them efficiently. You you come with a lot of research and innovation, and then you have partnerships. If you can get them and ask your entities to go and start acquiring leases of critical minerals in the other countries. So that's again diplomacy, minerals diplomacy, we call it, right? We talked about it, minerals diplomacy. Do you know what is the difference between, okay, this is, if I put that, or if I put this, what is the difference, Yeah. So very important. You just have some, Google search afterwards. What is the difference, when you put a apostrophe before and after, yeah? So minerals diplomacy can happen through minerals, through education, through trade, through number of ways, right? So minerals diplomacy has become very, very, and which is exactly what Prime Minister has done in his recent uh, Global South tour, where you got rich heritage of mineral endowment, and then it's good to work with them, right? So produce or procure. What you want to do to for self-sufficiency? What we need to do? Is that good enough? You should do both, right? You should do both. Again, when you think of a strategy, whether it is personal strategy or a national strategy, right? We are looking at strategic 5-year plan or so on and so forth. There are three time horizons that we take into consideration. One is short term, short term, mid-term, and the other one is long term. I think I somewhat alluded to a philosophy that I look at, which is short term maximization or long term optimization. Do you remember? Does anyone remember? Short term maximization. Again, this is applicable to every one of your careers also. Don't look at, okay, just after graduation, I get some salary. Upskilling is very, very important in your life. Short term maximization, long term optimization. Where you will have better chances of succeeding in careers, in life is long term optimization. Yeah, there's a bit painful, the path is not as smoother, it's rougher, but that's where you will. I can tell you, sorry, not on record, but when I talk to some of my friends who, soon after their graduation, again, I'm talking of mid 90s and so on, they went into something called a boom called Y2K boom. I don't know how many of you remember. My friends may be a little bit aware, but this generation may not be aware. So what happened is Y2K, right? Year 2K. That means 2000, year 2000. So when computer recognizes, so generally what you write when it comes to year 95, let's say. If you put 00, that can be 1000 or that can be 3000. So computers would go mad, right? And then that time, a lot of engineers got sucked into this typewriting business, isn't it? Yeah. There were a lot of mushrooming number of training centers that kind of train people how to type in the computers. It's almost like typewriters kind of business. A lot of engineers, a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers got sucked into this. And then eventually they made careers. Of course, no offense to anything, but when I talk to them, they say, "Oh, you did the right thing that you pursued core area." Core area skills are very, very. Again, Professor Murthy's Independence Day talk, he talked about core area. We should not continue to be just servicing economy. We need people in mining. We need people in mechanical. We need people in good people, not any bad quality. Because India, if you look at the education system, also 3 tier, right? One is top tier, the IITs, and then second tier is the NITs and state universities, and third tier is all that fall to kind of I'm sorry, not to be demeaning, but that's reality. You see surplus, lot of students graduating out of the university, but they don't get jobs because people, when they get interviewed, people say they are useless. So that is where good quality, if good quality students come in, good quality outcomes come. Brilliant students come, they have brilliant ideas, big ideas. So again, short-term maximization, long-term optimization. Just focus on long-term optimization. That's, you will see, you have it in writing on your books. If you practice that, success will come to you. Think big, think global. Again, that same principle. Think global, act local. So that means you are becoming a global engineer, a global entrepreneur. And that's how people have, I mean, it's not my view. I hear to a lot of, that's people who are entrepreneuring and all that. They say the same thing. I have a friend who started collecting in Melbourne, started collecting, this used clothes, because in the Western society, use and throw is very, very prominent. Like people, good furniture, they put after 3 years or 4 years, they put it on the road. And other people, they collect it, use it, so they give it give it a second life. And I have got so many of such material in my house. Good furniture, for example, this table. After 5 years, or they want to renovate or something, and they put it out on the nature strip. And then other people who have got some, including televisions, mobile phones, they throw out. There's a specific month where these items are put out on the nature strip, and then people collect it. So what I'm saying is, it's good to be. Sorry, why did I say that example? The items. Yeah, think global and act local. Yeah, sorry, my friend. So he started collecting used clothes. So the clothes also they put, because he used to work in a for an organization which would recycle the old clothes, because there are Salvation Army and Winnies. These are the companies. What they do is, because if you look at, there are people with different economic affordability levels, right? Not everyone can go to shop and then buy new ones. So and then what they do is they refurbish. They nicely wash it, refurbish it, and then resell it. And I buy a lot of stuff like that going into that shops. You get sometimes good quality because people buy it. It may not fit you, or you don't like it at the time when you went to a shop. You got motivated to buy it, but after that you never wore it, and then after that they throw it. And then these Salvation Army kind of companies, what they do is they recycle them, and then they make money. It's a voluntary organization, not for profit organization, and this is for people who are kind of not having that same socio-economic. And then he started. Then I think after 2 years he started with metal recycling, because metal recycling also it's a use and throw society, right? Now he's a billionaire. 2007 he started his journey. He has largest recycling business now. Critical minerals becoming what he does. He does all these white goods and everything, and then crushing, grinding, preparing black mass, exporting to number of countries. Small idea. See, maybe at that time it may sounded silly. Oh, you collect from here, you here. But today he employs nearly 300 people. 300 people in Australia is a big number. So enterprising, anything will start. In fact, homegrown Telangana's or Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile Andhra Pradesh homegrown entrepreneur Ramoji Naidu, he used to sell pickles on bicycle. There's so many such examples, right? So think of that long term. Okay, so much of this, and then so it is both. As far as India is concerned, what we should do, we should look producing domestically, exploring domestically, and also in the short to medium term, importing from partners and allies. Minerals diplomacy. If you just fixated on the idea of producing, then in the short to medium term, your industry will suffer, right? So you should have a combination of both producing and procuring. So again, we looked at it. Mineral commodity, where it is applicable: aerospace, defense, energy, telecommunications, transportation, then reserve concentration, and the top producing countries, etc. So it's a very comprehensive kind of table that gives you what is a picture. And we have looked at it in different forms so far, right? And what is the dependency, import dependency as a country, right? So some countries are reliable, more reliable when you depend also, but some countries could be, behaving the way they behave sometimes. And especially when you are having some kind of geopolitical tension with that country, it is even more, the vulnerability that we are exposed to is even more, right? So challenges for domestic critical minerals landscape, what are that? Unavailability of quality reserves is one important thing. Yeah. Then difficulty in economic extraction, and then challenges in mine development. So again, this comes a big challenge, big problem. You've got reserve forests, you've got national parks. Supreme Court in India is very, Yeah, so who was saying that the Ministry of Mining and Ministry of Coal is trying to push the projects as fast as possible, but Ministry of Environment pushes it back. Who was saying something? You said it. Yeah. So that's a kind of always a game that you'll have to kind of deal with. And now that we have witnessed massacre of pristine ecosystems, we have to be even more vigilant. It's not that mining or ecosystem, both. Again, going to Mosami's point, um, not either this or either that. We need to have a good balance between both of them. So that's why they call progressive mine rehabilitation. Very, very important concept. As you are destroying, you are also fixing. Progressive mine rehabilitation is a very, very key thing, right? Then lack of advanced processing capabilities. So we do not have how to process rare earths. For example, now GMDC is setting up India's first rare earth refinery. Since you do not have capabilities, then it takes time. How to do metallization, how to do this, how to do processing, how to do separation, right? Again, we are not talking of the usual processing capability, but advanced. That means environmentally benign. See, rare earth processing is criticized for its huge environmental toll impact. Processing is very, very energy intensive, very, very chemical intensive. So how do you reduce it? And that's where membranes. There's a new, again, tomorrow's lecture I'll address that, and again today also you might hear from Associate Professor Bhuwana Shanbag, who is going to talk after me. Deep, we call DES. Does anyone know DES? Do you use DES in your research? Deep eutectic solvents. Typical solvents. See, the other day we looked at in mineral processing. Either you can have hydrometallurgy or pyrometallurgy. What does hydro means? Using liquids, right? What does pyro means? Yeah, pyro means high temperature processes. And again, climate change being one of the main problem, so we are trying to reduce pyro, right? So hydro and then pyro. Pyro is high temperature, like you are talking of the order of 800 degrees and over, yeah? Or even 600 degrees higher. So in hydro, what you have is you got solvent extraction, SE, and electrowinning. These are the two common practices. And we also talked about two different types of ore bodies. You can get oxides forms, sulfide forms. And sulfides are generally, this. Oxides are benign. You can just remove oxygen so that metal becomes, right? So that's what we are saying. Now, the new generation of, again, in this, the typical solvent extraction used high intensity acids like HNO3. Do you know HNO3 stands for? Do you know what is that? Sulfuric acid. But now people are using to more benign acids. Benign acids or benign solvents like DES. I'm not an expert of this, but there are many experts who have done a lot of that. DES is deep eutectic solvents, organic acids they are using. Organic acids are less harmful, like citric acid and so on. Like citric acid is your lemon juice, for example, right? So that's a kind of advanced processing capability. Then skills development, which is what you guys are. So there are some chemical engineers, some mining engineers, some social scientists. So these are the people who needs to be kind of equipped to with. Again, we are addressing what is the problem, why, what, and how. We are understanding the holistic nature of this critical minerals business, not just one technology part or economics part or social part or mining part. at learning it all in it together, so that you get a fair idea. It's not technology problem, it's not economics problem alone, it's not geopolitics alone, but it's combination of everyone in various proportions. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So we are glued to that concept of why, what, and how. Everything that we are studying is linked back into that. That's how you should look at it. Yeah. Is that clear? What are the challenges? Yeah. Then once you know the problem, see, it's always like this, right? Knowing the problem is half done. Starting the problem, starting is half done, we say. We'll be half done. Exactly. Yes. So in the strategic mind planning area, what they say, understanding the problem is half done. Once you know the problems, what do you do then? You sit down calmly, then you do a SWOT analysis. What is SWOT? Then that's it. Then you know the clear path. Your blueprint is ready. Then, okay, what are your strengths? You work on your strengths. What are your opportunities? Work on them. What are the threats? And what are the weaknesses? If you work on weaknesses and threats, that's done. Recently, weakness changed as challenge. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. So, okay. Scott. It becomes Scott. So what he's saying is weaknesses become challenge. So this you should do regularly about yourself also. What are my strengths? What are weaknesses? Then, okay, the challenge and opportunity. India's energy transition and manufacturing, very good, right? EVs, if our roads are becoming cleaner, if our cities are getting less dirtier, beautiful opportunity, right? Who doesn't want to live in India? Where, yesterday I went for shave. You just pay 200 rupees. You are treated like a prince. When my dad came to Australia, I took him for a haircut. He sits, in 1 minute he's out of the chair. वहाँ पे तो पूरा मशीन ही है. बस खत्म हो गया. Either I paid 200 rupees, I was there on the seat for 1 hour. The service, look at that, right? That's the power of capital, human capital. And that there I paid $12 or $13 for him to be on the chair for 2 minutes. Here I paid 200 rupees for 1 hour. So why people hesitate? Traffic jams, quality, all of that will be fixed if you are electric vehicle, there's no pollution in the cities. Beautiful. Right? Welcome. So we are currently importing. That's a challenge. It's our weakness, rather. Again, going to your SWOT or SCOT. So that's your challenge or weakness. Then demand will multiply several folds by 2030. So that's an opportunity. That means we can have domestic production, domestic processing, and so on. And then that will also create jobs, right? When you get into downstream, more manufacturing is more jobs. That's exactly how China has kind of done it. And what does do? They also do with those money that they made, they will invest in other countries and they'll take their own people and then they build bridges, they build infrastructure in those countries, wherever they operate. They build mines. So your people are getting jobs in your own country, but also they're getting jobs in other countries. They are using their prisoners. So see that. And that's exactly how others have done. I'll talk a little bit about in the break. Huh? Oh, sorry. Then extra measures. What are that? Yeah, extra measures to improve self-sufficiency, establish critical minerals dashboard. So these are some of the thoughts, my own thoughts, right? Like, where's the trade? See, most of the trade, minerals trade occurs through London Stock Exchange or Toronto Stock Exchange. India also should develop. When you have an ambition of becoming one of the global leaders, we should also get in the same, and create national target, right? So target mission mode, we achieved everything, right? Polio mission, we eradicated polio. TB mission, we eradicated TB, right? Literacy, we are far better compared to where the kind of India that I saw. Now clean mission, let's say clean and green, we are getting better. Yeah, highway mission, highways are getting built. So in a mission mode, if we think, I think we should be able to achieve, right? So that our attention, our efforts are focused, diverted in that way. As an individual, I may not be able to lift this, but if I ask, okay, collectively, let's lift it. It's just, with our fingers, all of us put our fingers, we can lift it, not even hand. That's the power of collective. Uh, uh, Then what is domestic exploration? Again, we talked about it. So how do you get to that self sufficiency? If you don't have, you invest somewhere. If you have, you start exploring and then mining. So National Critical Minerals Mission (NCMM) 2025 sets an ambitious plan. Again, it's both domestic, inward looking, and also outward looking. National Critical Mineral Mission, as we said, short, medium, and long term. That's how typically your strategy planning happens. So they're looking in the same direction. And again, now the process is they're trying to get as transparent as possible. Again, any system needs improvement. So somewhere we have to begin, right? So we came from very licensed Raj era to liberalized era, more corruption to less corruption, and then we get to that zero corruption, fairness in allocation, etc. So there's no, as long as when you make systems transparent, there's less scope for corruptions. You remove discretion so that it becomes a more fairer system. Compared to where I used to be and where we are today and where we will be, I'm seeing that transition happening for sure. So even to get some certificate of income certificate in those days I'm talking of, you have to literally wait 3-4 days because it required a patwari and then someone else, giridar or someone we used to. No, there's another guy. No. Those days we used to call, one is patwari, girdar or something we used to call them, and then Tahsildar. Now it is only directly you can go to Tahsildar and get it done, right? So you remove all this, so that simplification. Then extra measures, launch a mineral exploitation tax, critical minerals exploration tax credits, which is again part of the, these are some of the extra measures. And then digitize geoscience data through a national mineral data repository, which we have done for Government of Australia for the exploring for the future. You remember yesterday we talked about, I showed you the map. So when database is open, people don't have to run around governments. At your fingertip on your computer, you can get the material. Right? This is how advanced countries are doing. Then encourage state-center co-funding for exploration, especially in, and this is already there, NMET, right? We talked about NMET. NMET. What is NMET? Trust. So they do that, state-center coordination. But again, they're also land acquisition, because I speak to a lot of my colleagues from GSI. They say, land acquisition. The moment they go with that equipment, when the locals see, they'll stage a dharna. They will not let things happen. That's where I was comparing, right? National highway mission is working perfectly all right, but where the national mining mission is not having that acceptance. So then we talked about SLO and SLOW, social license. How do we get social license is a key thing, right? And in fact, what we did is we made some recommendations to even state governments. For example, state governments should constitute a critical mineral task force, because majority of the critical minerals, the size is not big, they're very tiny. So state task force should be there, right? Under the chairmanship of the state minister for critical mining and minerals. And then they should have R&D support, and they should also have some corpus, state level corpus, for fast tracking some of the R&D, besides NMET and all that. So these are some of the recommendations that we made to the various governments, right? Then processing, refining, and recycling. Again, we talked about recycling, right? Recycling also is a major opportunity for a country like India. See, recycling is already effective in a country like India. We hardly waste in our society, because even when I go to my hometown, which is not a big town, it's maybe less than 1 lakh people. Every morning, first of all, these municipal garbage collectors come. And now, the system we used to have to now, it's very improvised. They have this loudspeaker announcement. Chatta aa raha hai, chatta vastundi antaru. Then you have to put out. Then just next to him will come this plastic guy, plastic collectors. They pay you money to get your stuff from your house. And then after that, a metal guy will come. Literally from your doorstep, you don't have to do anything. They will come and collect you.
And even for hair also. One time he will give, he will collect the hair also.
Hair also, yeah, now even hair also. With all those people who are losing hair like me.
The only difference for Western and India, their raw material coming in a affordable way or almost for nothing. Here it is the major cost component.
Yeah,
for recycling.
That's right. So we are efficient because our human resource is our strength. If you play to that strength, you will achieve what you want to achieve. That's why demographic dividend, again, the demography. What is the age group? 20 to 35 is that's yeah.
The average age is 27.
27. Look at that. If 1.4 billion like a population, average age is 24 is amazing. 27, is it? Yeah. Not many countries have that. Many countries are aging, especially Western economies are aging very fast, rapid. So that's why you should not just be thinking of India as your global citizens, global engineers. If you are skilled, and that's exactly how India is doing. Our Indians are doing well. So what we are saying, exploration alone is not enough. We also must process and refine minerals domestically instead of exporting raw. In fact, when Dr. Abdul Kalam was the president, I used to work back then in Goa, government of Goa. How much time we left? Huh?
Time on.
Oh, we are over already. Okay. Always, sorry. So he came to Goa. Goa used to export those days, all the iron ore. He said, why can't we do value addition? Abdul Kalam's very subtle way of saying, we should stop exporting. We should do value addition. So it creates more jobs and you get more bucks. You remember that value in lithium value chain, Australia 50%, but only 1.5% of the value chain we get. Same thing applies. So human resource, human capital, capitalizing on human capital, right? Processing tax credits, public, what is PLI? We talked about quite a few, right? So already PLI is extended to many of these sectors. So manufacturing creates huge jobs. Currently, the share of manufacturing in our economy is about, what's the percentage? We said?
Manufacturing. Of course, it is roughly in between 14 to 19.
No, I think it's 24, they're saying.
No, sir. Actually, it was declining last 4 years.
Oh, is it?
In the percentage wise.
Okay.
I'm not talking
Or
about
maybe service has increased. So yeah, yeah.
because, because the real estate is the major land bank is the major problem for manufacturing growth.
Okay. But the ambition is to have 30% by 2030 manufacturing share. If that means so many jobs, so many good high paying jobs, yeah. Then overseas partnerships and strategy. Exactly, we talked about it, right? We talked about one is domestic recycling, R&D, investing, exploration, and the next one is overseas partnerships and strengthening strategic security. So CABIL, which is doing already. I think CABIL stands for Kanish Bidesh India Limited. Kanish Bidesh India Limited. MOUs have been signed, and then G20 supply chain initiative. In fact, the G20, I represented Australia in the G20 when India hosted in Delhi. So G20 is another thing. And then extra measures and so on. Yeah? Okay? Everyone with me? Then roadmap for to self-sufficiency, 25, 35. So these are some of the targets by 2035, and India can become self-sufficient not by mining alone, but also combining exploration, processing, recycling, overseas partnership, and supportive policy incentives. Very, very important. That's what we kind of, in a nutshell, discussed at the beginning of the lecture. So, SWOT or SCOT analysis. First of all, understanding the problem is half done. Starting is half done is a very age-old saying, right? You must begin something. That means half of your work is done. So think coolly, sit down. Whether it is your personal issue or as a nation, same thing. When there's a problem, don't panic. Put everything away. Sit down coolly. Okay? So again, this is an indicative strategic intervention times for supply security of critical minerals, 0 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Again, we talked about same thing, right? Short term, medium term, long term. So critical minerals opportunities in mine waste, again, from, something that I missed to show you yesterday. So here are some opportunities. Waste. I think that's where I will kind of stop, and then thank you. So we'll break for a tea.